Karen Cliche, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, and so you grew up in Quebec. We were just talking about before the show, and actually, it's funny. My I grew up in Maine, so my grandparents were actually born in Quebec province, Saint Frederick, Saint Joseph, just south of Quebec City. So I know what it's like to grow
Wow.
up in a French family. They spoke French fluently. My parents did. My generation kind of lost it. I can
Oh my
speak enough to
gosh.
get by, but that's about it.
That's amazing though. That's great. Yeah, like that's totally where I would have been born in Lake Megantic, let's call it. I don't know if you heard of that, but it's an
Uh-huh.
eastern
Yep, been
township,
there.
which is literally right, probably a half hour from the border of Maine. But my dad got stationed elsewhere, so I was born in northern Quebec, but I would have been born there, right? I would have been your neighbor.
But French is your first language, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I learned English when I was about 4 or 5 when we moved out west in Western Canada. But yeah, French is, I'm 100% French Canadian, but I have a name like Karen and I speak better English than I do French.
Yeah, and I'm sure you got the cliche pronunciation so many times from people probably outside of Quebec province a lot.
All the time.
All the
Sometimes
time.
I hear it in an airport. Karen Cliche, can you come to the, I'm just used to it. And you know what? I'm just like, you know what? It makes it memorable. So I'm okay with it, I guess. But I always have to correct people. It's no problem.
Yeah. All right. So you just mentioned so you grew up in Quebec. What was your childhood like? And just talk about your beginning, like your childhood before you even got into modeling and acting and everything else in your career.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll keep it pretty short and sweet. So yeah, like I said, I was born from small town parents in Quebec, and then my dad, being in the military, we moved every 2 or 3 years. My sister and I and my parents, and I grew up in Virginia for a few years. That's where I really became anglicized, and then lived in Germany, lived in just a bunch of different cities. So kind of growing up, being the new girl in a new school, in a new country all the time, really, I think bred me very well for this business. And because every set that you're on is a new family, a new experience. And I really learned how to, I think, master the art of not looking like you're nervous when you are nervous. Because, when you're a new girl in school, here we go again. I'm gonna have no friends for the first couple weeks. I'm gonna have to eat my sandwich in the bathroom stall, and then you kind of just have to just brave through things. And I think it really gave me some really good life skills. So, yeah, my parents got divorced. We were living in Germany. My mom left with my sister and I. We were 12 and 13. Moved back to Canada and rebuilt a whole life there. And yeah, and that just kind of I started modeling when I was about 17 or 18 and then always wanted to be an actress. And then finally that just kind of led to acting. And here I am.
All right. So you traveled around and probably starting over every time you did, I would assume helped you later on in your career, probably with each new project that you took on in your career.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And also just learning how to socialize pretty quickly, how to make friends easily, how to break the ice, all those skills that I noticed that when we were stationed in smaller towns, um, I just noticed that the people there had a little bit more stranger danger than I did because they grew up in the same place, the same people all the time. And it was funny because when we were in Germany, we were actually I went to school on an army base. So it was all army brats like me. And the first day, I mean, within an hour, I had all my best friends. I had a boyfriend. Everyone was so welcoming. And you know what? It really taught me a lesson in life. I think I was 12. And I remember just going, you know what? I think the more experience you have in life, and the more broad your life experiences and your traveling is, the more empathy you have with people. And just because I saw the real difference between kids who had grown up like me, were so like, hey, we totally understand where you're coming from. Come, we're not scared of you, versus people who were very kind of growing up in the same place. And so it was just such a life lesson to me that the more you do in life, the bigger your empathy is.
Okay, and you mentioned that you studied psychology in school because acting felt too ambitious. So was that based out of fear that you may fail, or just kind of like that ultimate fallback plan?
A lot of things. It is because I was living in Montreal as a teenager in Montreal. I was working at McDonald's. I had always wanted to be an actress, but coming from where I came from, with absolutely no connections to the business, very blue collar working class family, just kind of was just like, oh, that's just a dream. But I was always interested in psychology, and social work and those kinds of things. So I said, well, I'm going to go that route. That's fine. And acting can just be, you're a teenager, you're not really thinking things through this much, but it was definitely the safer route. But then I think I only did a semester at university, and New York agency came calling, and they said, hey, do you want to come model for us? And I went, yeah, you know what? Peace out, everybody. I'm not going to be 19 forever. So that's what just kind of led to a few years of traveling and modeling around the world. And then when I got back to Montreal, my Montreal agency, my modeling agency, had opened up an acting division. So I started auditioning and I started working right away. So I never went back to psychology, but I always say that acting is a lot of psychology, because you're analyzing characters, you're really doing a deep dive into a lot of psychological things. And so I feel like I got to blend my two passions into one.
Originally, did you want to just pursue just modeling? And obviously this opportunity came to you. So did you have to think about it even at all? Or you were just like, no, I'm all in? And then what did your family think about it? Were they supportive? Because I feel like every actor, actress I've ever interviewed, it was always kind of like, hey, have that fallback plan. Maybe you can't make a career of this, have that.
That's true. That did happen. I mean, my mom was a single mom, and of course, she encouraged my dreams. But, it was like, okay, well, what are you really going to do? I think until I was 30 years old, she was still asking me that, and I had had a pretty successful
She still
career.
didn't
I'm like,
realize
oops.
that, yeah, you can make a living off of what you were doing.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, I'm doing okay, but whatever. Um, no, yeah, I never wanted to be a model actually at all. I always wanted to be an actress. And it's when, I had a few agencies come, they find you on the street, and a few scouts come to you. And I just was always like, no, no, no. And I was like, really wanted to be different. I didn't want to do anything that superficial. And so I was really kind of like rebelling against all that superficiality stuff. And then finally, I think it's when I was about 18 that I went, you know what? Let's say this can bring me a little bit of money. This can bring me some opportunities. Why not? If I can keep a level head and I don't let it affect me, and, you know, just kind of get to my head and mess me up like that, then I think I can have a good handle on it. So I'm really glad that I started a bit later in life, not so young, that it didn't taint my self-esteem based on my looks and the rejection and everything. I was a little bit older. And then, yeah, when I started modeling in New York and then in Europe, I was about 20 years old, 19, 20. So it was a really good age to just be super grounded about it. So no, I never wanted to be a model. I wasn't even that great. My agency was always telling me to lose weight, because I was like, no, I want to eat McDonald's every day. I want to eat pasta. So
Poutine.
I never really, yeah, poutine. I love those cheese curds. So no, it was not my passion. I did it because the opportunity was there, but no, it was really acting that I loved.
So, but ultimately, do you think though that modeling helped you then progress into acting, like you did it that way instead of in reverse, or maybe just got into acting at the beginning?
Um, yeah, I think that, yeah, the whole trajectory worked out perfectly. I think that it did give me some experience on camera, like as a model. It gave me some of that, broke the ice on camera for sure. Um, but yeah, I think that had I not been with a modeling agency, they wouldn't have opened up the acting division, and I wouldn't have had the opportunity to audition. I don't think that maybe if I wasn't modeling, I would have never on my own initiative gotten an agent and tried acting. I don't know, right? I maybe would have never done that. So I'm super grateful for the modeling part that led to that opportunity that I don't think that I would have done on my own.
Okay. And then what were your first big break? Was it Mutant X and Vampire High? Was there a project before that, before those roles came about?
Yeah. Well, before every big role, you're always a receptionist in some movie. You've got a few lines in one movie, you got a few lines in another. So my first movie was a movie with Casper Van Dien and Rick Fox, I think. That's where I played a receptionist. And so, yeah, I think about like maybe my fourth role was a Francis Ford Coppola produced film in Australia and Hong Kong when I went, and it was with Adam Baldwin. And I mean, that I was 20 years old shooting this movie, flying first class to Australia and Hong Kong. And I was like, oh, this acting thing is great.
You were like, yeah,
So
I
that
made
was
it. Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I totally thought I made it at this point for sure. And then, yeah, and then probably soon after I got Vampire High. So I think within about 2 years, I had my first lead role on a series. And then after Vampire High came something else. And then Adventure Inc. was my first kind of big American show, produced by Gail Ann Hurd. And that was really fun with Michael Bean. We traveled around the world shooting that. It was awesome. And then Mutant X came, and then and then a few other series after that. So yeah, it was really fun.
Okay. And you've been known to play a lot of strong female character roles long before Polly Hollywood embraced them. So did you know how unique those roles would be at the time?
Yeah, you know what? I just kind of, it's so funny. Like I have this weird, like, again, like what you referred to, it was too ambitious to think that I could do it. I didn't really come in with a plan. I just was like a little naive about it, I think. I didn't have like a full-on career trajectory that I wanted, the roles that I wanted. I just auditioned, and I think those strong female roles came naturally to me, being an army brat. My dad was a sergeant. I was raised, I say like a boy, but I don't mean like in any of that way in these terms that we're talking about today, but just like really tough. Like, I wasn't in ballet. I didn't participate in any kind of princessy things. So I think that those roles came very naturally to me physically, but also my dad was always very encouraging of speak your mind, don't be afraid. So I think that that's why I won those roles over other girls that are more trained to be quiet, sweet and innocent girls in the world. And I was not. So again, just how life brings you to these opportunities just based on kind of how you were raised and everything. So yeah, I loved them because I brought so much of my own personality to them. It was kind of easy in that way. And also just kind of hiding behind a tough exterior, hiding my little vulnerability behind a tough exterior. I knew all about that too. So yeah, it was just meant to be.
And because of those roles, you learned a lot of skills along the way, like sword fighting, horseback riding. What was like the coolest skill you learned? And did you learn those because of acting, or would you have been interested in them anyway?
Yeah. So here's a funny story. When I got Young Blades, so this was a series that only went one season. It was on the PAX network, which was an affiliate of NBC back then. So I don't know if this was a premonition that I had or just, I don't know, but it was like a couple months before I got the audition for Young Blades. I was like, what a hobby. I was in my mid 20s and I was like, okay, what does a mid 20s girl want to do? I'm like, let me take up fencing. Like I know I'm so weird. I was like, let me take up fencing. So I started looking into fencing. And then I get this audition. I was like, oh my God, sword fighting. I'm like, that's so weird. And then I auditioned for it. I remember I went to a costume store and I got myself a vest with the puffy shirt, the Seinfeld puffy shirt, and auditioned for it. And then I flew down to LA and I screen tested for it and I got it. And I was like, that is so funny that I had the thought that I wanted to not sword fight, but fence. And then I get this series where I get to learn sword fighting. So it was really great. And then, of course, the horseback riding I learned along the way. I had maybe done it once in my life. But of course, as actors, we lie on our special skills. We say we can do anything. So I was like,
Then you get the role and
like,
you're
no
like, shoot, now I got to
problem.
figure this out. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, they did train us, but it's like, oh yeah, ridden horses many times. And then my other shows, I got to shoot so many cool guns and everything. So that was really fun and learn a lot of fight choreography. And yeah, so really fortunate in that way.
Yeah. And was there any time where like, where I guess you kind of mentioned that where you stepped into and you're like, oh shoot, I really cannot do this. And you just couldn't pick up that skill?
Well, there was one movie I did. So I can't open my eyes underwater. I just
Okay.
can't. It hurts.
Yeah. I never
I
could, but then
can't
again,
do
I
it.
also wear contacts. So that doesn't help.
Okay, so you probably
Clearly.
don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't have that excuse. I'm just chicken. So I got this movie, this big action movie with Steven Dorff, and the director was like, okay, so now we're going to shoot this scene and you're going to be, 30, I don't know, like very deep underwater. We had to go down with like scuba gear and everything and then shoot this whole kind of scene underwater, no gear. And I was like, I can't open my eyes. He was like, what? I'm like, I can't. So we had to adjust. It's so stupid I don't even want to see the scene right now because I'm like, it makes no sense, but I am wearing goggles. I am wearing underwater goggles in the movie and all the other guys are wearing no goggles. And so I look pretty silly, but they had no choice. I couldn't do it.
I'll say
So
probably if
that
that
is
film was
something that
made
I was
today with like AI, they could just, superimpose eyes on you and you'd be good.
exactly,
No one would ever
exactly,
know.
totally. But the problem is that I had to have my eyes open down because I was kind of like struggling with someone. I was doing things, so I
Okay.
goggles were the natural answer.
All right. And kind of playing off that, you've been part of some great like horror franchise movies, Saw 6, Thanksgiving. What keeps you coming back to those horror films? And are they as fun to shoot as any other sort of genre?
Yeah, I mean, what keeps me coming back to that? Well, my first one was Saw 6 that I did probably 17 years ago. I was newly pregnant with my daughter. So I'm on this carousel that's spinning. So I don't know, all you ladies out there know about how fun that is in the first trimester when you're nauseous and you're spinning around for hours and hours a day. So that was great. And then just screaming my head off and and so that kind of was fun for me. I just loved it. I was like, we'd be having lunch in our trailers, the cast, and we'd all be looking at each other going, look at us with just brains in our hair. Like, what do we do for a living? We're just, what are we doing here? This is hilarious. And then I didn't really do any horror after that until Thanksgiving, where I got cast in Thanksgiving. And that's when I had come back to acting after a long break. And that was so fun. That really made me appreciate the genre for sure, just being pushed to your limit to really sell the fear and everything, right? Because if you don't, it ain't gonna look good and you're not gonna do a good performance. So you just have to dive in so deep, right? There's no phoning it in. And then yeah, then when Eli offered me Ice Cream Man, which is coming out in a few weeks, that was great too. So I don't know, they just kind of have started coming to me now more, which I love because I've met the fans and they've made me kind of appreciate horror as well. So yeah, I love it. I think that it's a really great opportunity for an actor to push yourself to the ultimate limit.
I was gonna say, were you a fan of horror movies before you even started in acting?
No, I
No.
wasn't. Like, it's funny because I'd be at these conventions and I'd be signing autographs. They'd be like, "What's your favorite horror movie?" And I was like, "I don't really watch them. I don't know any." So I was like, maybe I need to start watching some so I could actually start answering these questions. But I mean, obviously, I'm a child of the 80s. I grew up on Freddy Krueger and Friday the 13th and all that. So yes, but I definitely prefer comedies and dramas over horror
Okay.
to
And
watch.
yeah, and I do feel like of all the genres, like horror seems to have the most passionate fans, and like you were talking about the conventions. So do you like doing those and meeting fans of your work?
Yeah, I really do. Because I had done several before, because Mutant X and Flash Gordon were sci-fi genres. So I had gotten to know the sci-fi community. But horror fans are are also very different from sci-fi fans. I just really liked them. I mean, if you look at a horror convention, like really, like all you see is a sea of black. Everyone's just in all black,
It's all goth.
black hair. Like it's very right. And sometimes I show off my like pink outfit, and I was like, wow, I really stand out here. Um, no, but I love them. I think that they like again, they really taught me because I would ask them. I would start asking them like, why do you love horror? Like, why do you love this? I genuinely want to know. And a lot of them would tell me that it takes such an extreme genre is what's needed for a lot of people to escape their own life. It really just takes them away for those moments out of their reality, whatever it may be. And they just get to escape and feel like just it's all about like the feeling that it has within you. And so it's just their little escape slash like passion. And I just, yeah, it just kind of opened my eyes to why people love this crazy stuff, but whatever.
And I know, like, obviously, horror movies are meant to be scary, but are they as fun to shoot as they are to watch in a sense of, being acting in the film itself? And is it scary to like actually shoot those scenes where you're like, oh my God, this is like crazier than I thought it was gonna be?
Yeah, well, shooting with Eli is because he gets the humor about it, and he's like a kid in a candy store with this stuff. So it's so fun to see him living it while you're doing it. Like people were saying, like when in Thanksgiving when I was being roasted alive in the oven. Spoiler alert. um, People were like, "You should see Eli when he was at the monitor, like watching me." He was like, his face. He was just like watching my face and my screaming and my crispy skin. It was just like he was loving it. So there were a lot of jokes behind the scenes for sure about about what we were doing and the circumstances. So it was really there's a lot of laughs. I think it did. A Saw 6 I didn't feel was as like a funny set, but definitely Eli's sets are definitely intense and serious when they need to be, but a lot of kind of behind the scenes jokes about just body parts and stuff because he loves it. So then we love it and we laugh about it. So.
And that is one of those like classic scenes in the film. How long does something like that take to
Oh, well, you know what's interesting is that it was not in the original script. So when we shot it in March and April, my part basically ended at, I think we get darted at the parade, and then you never see me again until I'm presented on the table as a Thanksgiving turkey. But Eli comes back a few months later and texted me, and he's like, "Are you ready for more?" And I'm like, "More what? Like, what are we doing? Like what, more what?" And he said, I want to write in a few extra scenes. I want to write the whole cat and mouse chase scene and the burning alive in the oven. And I'll get back to you once Sony approves it." And so I was like, "Oh my God,
You had to get
cool." And
approval
so we
for it.
actually
You know
shot
it was
that.
going to be an intense scene. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So he
Huh.
wrote it, got approved, and then, oh my God, I think we shot this a month before it was released. And so it took a couple of days, a full day to do the whole oven stuff because I had prosthetics and we had to do it in stages. And then by the end of screaming, I was like, I have one more take in me, and that's it. Like, I was screaming my face off. And then the second day was the chasing and the whole the whole chase scene throughout the barn. But yeah, so that was a couple of days, and then he tagged it on in the movie, and then it was released that way. So it would have been totally different had we not done those scenes. So I'm really grateful for that.
And are they scary to shoot like when you're actually shooting them? Or is it just like, because everybody's on set, obviously you're not as scared as if, you're watching the film alone in your
Yeah.
house, out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, obviously as an actor, you know it's not real. But you have to get yourself in such a state of mind that you have to feel the fear. You have to imagine, like, especially because I was in an industrial size oven. It was not a set, it was not a prop. It was an actual oven. So, like, getting in, I was like crawling underneath it. My head was bruised from the metal grates that I was like bashing on. I was tied up. Someone who was claustrophobic could not
I
have
was just
done
going to say,
that.
were you claustrophobic? Because I know I would be.
No, not, I mean, not, there was 10% of me sometimes where I was like, okay, when everything was closed around me, I was like, this is a little intense. But yeah, so are you scared? No, but you have to feel the fear, and you have to really like sell that. So, um, no, you're not scared, but yeah, like I said, you just have to really just immerse yourself in it 100%.
In a film like that, where it was so big and so many other like famous actors attached to it, was that like kind of like one of your favorite roles that you've had so far, or is there another one?
I definitely love that one because I think it brought me a lot of like dividends after, not financially, but like, just, all the conventions that I got to do, a little bit more notoriety in that way. Kind of was like the first big film that I did after having taken a decade off. So it was really meaningful to me to have launched kind of my career again in that sense. So yeah, I just think that it was really special like that. It was definitely one of my favorites because the cast was incredible too. We had so much fun. I loved my character. It was nice to hear that people hated me, but then they actually felt sorry for me when I was roasting alive. So I'm like, yes, I changed their minds.
You got
I got
sympathy.
people.
um, yeah, and we were talking about I'm from Maine, so Patrick Dempsey is also from my hometown. He actually went to my high school before I did. Yeah, but he had started a cancer center there. His mother had cancer, and so he has a big like bike race there every year as a fundraiser. So I met him several times. He's a great guy.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was really, and he was actually funny. I did not know he was a funny guy, but he was like, he made me laugh so many times. Yeah, he was
yeah, he
great.
like left
And
high
right.
school early to go to New York to juggling school. Like that was kind of his like early trait. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you ever talk to him again, bring that up. He's talked about it before, like in interviews and stuff. But yeah, that was kind of like his
Okay.
early start. He would go back and forth between
Okay.
Maine and New York. Yeah,
That
and
is
then
so funny. Yeah, you never know.
yeah, then of course I remember in high school, like there was always rumors that he went there, but it was all those like '80s movies that he was in. Talking about being a fan of '80s movies, and then it wasn't until like Grey's Anatomy blew up, and then he kind of became famous again, and then opened up the cancer center, and then he pops up in Maine all the time. So it's
Oh my
yeah, it's
God.
not uncommon to find him like in a coffee shop hanging out somewhere in Maine. So
No
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So and then your new movie, Ice Cream Man. Let's talk about that without giving too much away. What drew you to that role? Obviously, in the natural progression of horror movies. I saw the trailer for it. I'm like, man, this thing is creepy.
It's gonna be intense. Yeah. Okay, so Eli just offered me that part. He's like, "Do you want to play my wife in this movie?" I'm like, "For sure." So we play the parents of the main kids in the movie. So it's definitely, I would say, and I think he has said this, it's definitely his goriest film ever. craziest ever. And I think for the why it is because, well, that's just where his brain goes. He always wants to like push the limits, but it was also because it's his first self-produced and released film. So there's no rating. There's no studio behind it to kind of like limit him. So he just went crazy on this one. So
He didn't
he's
care.
releasing it himself. And the concept that he, with this movie is so cool, and all the other movies moving forward that he's going to do, is that the fans can invest in his production company. They can invest in the movie, like buy shares. So when the movie's released, the better it does, the money that, you know, the people like fans own parts of this movie. So it's definitely, I think, I just thought it was such a smart format to do. You know, you're unrestricted in your content, and then you also have people that are super invested in watching it and sharing it. So
Yeah, I look
can't
forward
wait.
to watching it. So it comes out on August 7th to theaters.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm going to be in LA on August 6th. There's a premiere then. So I'll be seeing it on August 6th. I can't wait. So yeah, I hope it'll do well. I think people will just love it.
Yeah, we'll link to the trailer in the show notes of this episode. Yeah. And then we're recording this July 21st, and tomorrow's your birthday. So happy early birthday. Any big plans for it?
Oh my God. Well, it's a big one.
All
It's a big one.
right.
So
I know you never asked
tomorrow
woman
night,
or
I
age,
think
so I'm not going to, but any big plans
I don't
for it?
care. I'm fine with that. I'm turning the big 50.
I
Oh
know that's a
boy.
huge milestone. But you know what? Age is only a number.
Huge.
It's all on how you look and feel. That's what I always tell people.
I agree with that. I agree. So I'm okay with it. I think it's weird because I feel like I'm a kid inside, but whatever. No, tomorrow night's just a nice dinner with my boyfriend, and then on Saturday night is I'm having a big kind of Studio 54 type disco party. So I'm having a bunch of friends, but I'm calling it Studio 50.
I like it. I like it. I may
So
steal that
that's
idea in a
Saturday
few
night.
years when I turn 50.
Yes. Okay. There you go. I even made a neon sign that says Studio 50, and it's gonna be for a photo op, so I can always send it to you when I'm done with it.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
Awesome.
And do you still live in Canada now? Do you live in LA? Do you travel back and forth?
I do. I live in Ottawa, Ontario. So long story short, moved here because my mom is here. And so when I had my daughter, in order for me to get back to work, she takes care of my daughter, especially when she was younger. So yeah, I still live in Canada. I'm working on potentially kind of slowly making the move down to LA. We'll see what happens. But yeah, in this day and age with self tapes, you don't need to be anywhere specific. You just send in your tapes. So it's all good.
And I was going to say, I'm sure a lot of stuff is filmed even outside LA. Because I know a lot of
Yeah.
actors that have interviewed, they're like shooting in Carolinas or Vancouver or Atlanta or,
Yeah.
have you,
Toronto.
Toronto. Yeah.
Thanksgiving was shot in Toronto. Yeah, everything I do is mostly in Toronto, actually.
Okay. And then, like you just mentioned, you stepped away from Hollywood to raise your daughter. Was that one of the hardest decisions you made, or was it easy knowing that you wanted to be the mother in her life, especially in those early years of her life?
Yeah, it was definitely an easy decision. Like I couldn't wait. Like I was on Flash Gordon when we did our first season, and then I just was like obsessed. I think I just turned 30, and it wasn't like a mental thing. It was literally like a physical feeling. I was like, I want to be a mom. I need to be a mom. And I remember praying, this is so bad, my co-stars would hate me, praying that it didn't go a second season because I wanted to get pregnant. So as soon as it didn't go a second season, I was like,
You were happy
babe,
for that reason,
let's do
yeah.
it. Let's go. So no, it wasn't a hard decision at all. That's the kind of mom I wanted to be. I didn't want to be divided in my attention and stuff like that. But yeah.
And
So
has
now I've got a lot of years to make up for now. So let's go.
okay, there we go. Yeah, you're just getting started.
Yeah, hope so.
Has becoming a mother, do you think, made you like a better actress, or given you a different perspective of the industry itself and what's important and that sort of thing?
Definitely made me a better actress. 100%. I think that's the biggest takeaway. I was always pretty grounded in the business, so I didn't need any kind of, big life lesson to change that in me. But for sure, we were talking about vulnerability and the kind of wall up that I used to have, and the fear of being vulnerable and just emotions that weren't so at the surface. They were a little bit like buried underneath. Oh, it broke me open completely. And especially as I get older now. So I think that I'm a much better actress now because I can just let go of those emotions way better than I used to. I was more limited when I was younger. I didn't really understand the depth of love or that kind of thing, right? You're young, you don't really have any other experience. But as soon as you do, like, are you a parent? Do you have kids?
No, no kids. No, I have nieces and
Okay.
nephews. So yeah,
Okay. Well, I'm sure you have some
it's
deep love for them too, or pets. Pets is the same
pets.
thing,
Yeah.
but anyways, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm sure it does have a different perspective on for you, no, because it's a human life, no, and it's in your life
Yeah.
forever, and it's a part of you. So yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
When you're looking at a role to take on, what part of the script or what is it about that role that you're looking for that makes you say, yes, I want to do this versus no? Like, are you more selective now at this point in your career?
Well, you know what? It's like, so this, and this is probably the true answer, unless you're like super famous and you've made it and you're in that 1%, which I am not. I think that right now you kind of just take whatever job comes to you mostly, like unless something super, there's something super gross about it, I won't do. But so yes, that is the quick answer is like, I don't have the luxury right now of just like turning down roles and picking and choosing, but I definitely know that I do better in my auditions when I really connect. Sounds cheesy, but when I connect with the character, when I think the character is layered enough to make it interesting, like I played, like, say, for example, a lot of like bitchy characters, and they were so easy to play as that one note. But I feel like I wanted to bring either some sarcasm or humor to them here, an understanding of why they're like that, and all these kind of layers that makes a character more interesting. So I think that I choose character over anything else. Then there's the story, then there's the director, there's all that stuff. But if I'm the one who's consumed with my character and that's what my experience is, like 100% of the time, I want to really like this person, even if she's bad. Like, I want to like her. So for me, it's definitely character. That's the most important.
Okay, and you said you try to find humanity in every character, including villains. So why is that important to you? I'd imagine like most people would be like, I couldn't, don't think I could find the humanity in a villain. A villain's a villain.
Well, okay, well, let's just say I've never played like a terrible, terrible person, serial killer. Like, I've never played this. I never had to go that far. I think the characters that I played were more people that were hiding their pain and creating a tough exterior. So, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like super villain, terrible, terrible person. How do you even go there? How do you find the humanity and the compassion for that? I have not yet played a character like that, but I'm sure that I could. I'm sure that I could. I'm available. Hey,
You
I'll
could.
do it. But again, you have to remember, like, it's you're playing pretend, right? So it's like people are like, how do you do this? I'm just like, well, you just imagine it. Like I coach and I teach acting on the side. And that's what I just tell people sometimes. I'm like, if you can't find something to relate to this person, then just pretend. Just imagine what it would feel like under these circumstances with these characteristics. Just use your imagination. And sometimes that just works, right? You don't have to relate to every character you do, right? Or you play. You can just kind of imagine it.
Yeah, and that was going to be my next question about you coaching acting. Do you enjoy that aspect of the business? Just being able to teach others your craft that you learn.
Yeah. Yeah. I never knew that I never had any interest in teaching in my life. I never thought that I would. And I was asked to about like 5 years ago. There was an acting school here in the city. And at first I was like, no, 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 like I'm not qualified. I can't teach acting. Who am I? And they're like, well, you have tons of experience. And I was like, but no, typical female response is like, no, 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 I'm not qualified. Right. So then I remember I was just kind of in a very transitional phase of my life. I felt like my marriage was kind of like nearing the end, and I was really kind of just looking for answers and kind of inspiration. So I just said, Karen, just say yes. Just say yes and figure it out. So I did. And then as soon as I did it, I remember I taught one class and it was during COVID. So we were online. And I remember at the end, I was like, oh my God, that felt so good. And then what I loved about it was seeing with my direction, because I'm not a classically trained actress. I'm more of like, let's say like a natural, like I just use kind of life experience in these things. And the fact that I could talk to them, people who don't have any classic training, I could explain things in layman's terms that make sense for them. And I could see the light bulb go off and I could see them get better. And I just think the arts, when you kind of when people allow the arts in their life, it just you see them blossom in a different way that they wouldn't in any other kind of career or activity or hobby. So I fell in love with it, and now I private coach and I teach workshops, and I just love it. Love it,
And,
love, love it.
and would you like to get into producing and directing and that sort of part of the business? I know a lot of like actors that I've interviewed, they kind of like pursue that on the side as well. All aspect of film and television?
Yeah, well, especially I think these days because the format has changed so much, right? Like for the last decade with streaming and everything. I think that I know I have a lot of friends who've written scripts and get those produced. So I think that more than producing and directing, I think my next step would be writing a script. And I just got to get off my butt and do it. I keep talking about it, and then I just got to do it. But I think that I definitely have a perspective and a story to tell, especially about like women my age and what we're kind of going through. My friends and I, from mid 40s on, I think that that's kind of going to be my next project. Stay
Okay.
tuned.
Yeah, yeah. Stay tuned. We'll be watching.
Yeah.
And then as far like you mentioned, like streaming and then into social media, a lot of, I guess, influencers do act, even though I know there's a craft for it. Do you feel like as an actor today, like it's easier to break into the industry because you can just put your content out there and be discovered? Or is it harder because it's so saturated out there? It's not like 2 decades ago where you have to send like a physical tape in, and there's a whole like
Yeah.
process for it.
Yes. So both are true. It is easier in that sometimes it's just the amount of followers and the notoriety you have that can get you part on the movie. I mean, Addison Rae, who's so sweet and so talented, but that's what got her onto Thanksgiving was her fame from TikTok and her dancing and everything. And she ended up being quite talented in that aspect. So I think it's definitely a good door opener and an opportunity creator for people that wouldn't generally have an opportunity. And then I think as they learn and they get training, they get better. But what's different now is like, so especially even coming back into the business like 4 years ago when I did during COVID, so much had changed. Whereas like when I was coming up, it was, you'd get called into a room. There was maybe your competition was maybe 15 other girls, right? Because the casting director only had a certain time slot allotted for this role and then this role and this role. So you were going in having been kind of pre-selected, very, discriminatory in a good way. So you were pre-selected and then you knew you had like one shot and you were in the room to charm everybody with your great personality or bomb, which happened too. And then you kind of like, so your pool of competition was smaller. But now casting directors don't even have rooms and you're just sending in tapes, but there's 100 other people that are sending in the same tapes. And also guess what they can do if they see the first second of your audition? Delete. Delete. When you're in the room, they can't say get out. So it's harder, I think, now because there's just so many people that are vying for the same part and you're not given the same time and chance to really prove yourself. It's a delete away or a fast forward away. But I don't mind the self tapes because I can do it in my pajama bottoms and my nice little blouse and I can do
Still look great.
like what's happening right now here. That's exactly what's happening. And so I
think
my
that was all
setup
like
in
from
my
COVID. Like COVID totally changed everything, right? It's like, oh, I can just hop on a camera from the shoulders up and be good to go. Put on some
that's so
blouse
funny.
or something and be good. Makeup.
I actually just posted a story with what I'm wearing, and I was literally like business on the top, party on the bottom.
I
But
like it.
what's so great about self tapes is, yeah, that you can mess up 50 times and then send your best take. So I still, and you can live anywhere in the world basically. So I really do appreciate
Yeah.
this setup now more
Yeah.
than, yeah.
And outside of acting, you have some causes like helping women escape from domestic violence, fighting sex trafficking, and animal welfare. So where did that passion come from? And do you enjoy that just as much as you do in your professional career?
Yeah, I do. I mean, for a long time when I went, because in Quebec, where I went to college and university, we have high school, then we have 2 years of college, and then we go to university. So it's kind of like a mini university that we go to before university. And I really specialize in like a lot of my like majors were in women's studies and human rights things. And I used to have, I think I still have it in a storage container, but I have like a binder that's like this big full of articles about sex trafficking. And I really wanted to donate my time and maybe potentially work for an organization like that. So through World Vision, I sponsored a few girls in very high sex trafficking countries, Philippines, Thailand, and always volunteered at women's shelters and stuff like that because my dad was abusive to my mom. So that's why we escaped. So I'm always, I grew up always feeling like very passionate about that because I lived it as a kid and I saw my mom escape. And and she started from the bottom with nothing. She didn't even have a credit card to her own name. So I was just always kind of inspired to fight for the underdog, always. I still do to this day. So sometimes the underdog is literally a dog, it's an animal. And so I love to kind of just donate to causes like that because they need help.
Yeah, and like you just mentioned about your mom escaping the abusive relationship, how much did watching her strength when you were younger shape you today as the woman that you are?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny because I mean, my mom is very strong too. Like I say, I get a lot of my like strength from my dad in the kind of the obvious ways, but my mom is incredibly strong in what she did and how self-sacrificing she was for her girls growing up, as we were growing up. But I think that, yeah, it definitely shaped me in that way for sure. I just digressed and I totally forgot your question. What did
No,
you say?
just about seeing like, her strength when you were younger, that how did that shape you like as the woman, the adult you are today? Did you get a lot of that influence from her at the young age, that
Yeah,
makes you who you
thank
are today?
you.
And that's
Thank you,
probably where,
Larry.
your passion comes from helping
Perimenopause.
people.
Yes, exactly. This is perimenopause at its best right now. The brain going, what? Yeah, so she definitely inspired me in that way for sure. Like, I think that my strengths and my sister's a really strong character as well. So I think that, yeah, just having two very strong parents in very different ways. And then also, in life, sometimes you repeat patterns, right? Most of the time, psychologically, we repeat patterns from our childhood and we go with what's familiar. But I remember since I was a kid, I was just always like the bad boys, even like I'm talking elementary school or like whatever. I was like, nope. I just had no interest in any guy that was potentially bad news or like that kind of, how a lot of girls are attracted to those men.
The bad boys, yeah.
Not me. I was like, you can have them. And so I always really just loved the nice guys and the sweet, funny ones, and to this day. So I think that that was such a gift, having been shown what happens when you marry someone, say, like that or whatever. I didn't want any part of it. I was like, there's no way. I don't want to be treated like that. Even if it was familiar, I was like, no. Right. So I think I really see it as a gift in
So
a lot of
nice
ways.
guys don't always finish last, is what you're saying.
No, no, no. Hi. No, no, no. They're great. I don't like hearing that because like a lot of guys think that. And I'm like, there's there's always going to be a certain type of person that likes a certain type of person for whatever dysfunctional reason. But if you want a nice, like healthy person that is attracted to you for the right reasons, not because they have childhood dysfunctions that they're trying to work through, go that route.
Yeah. I will say it is interesting today because I see like younger guys and like when they say chivalry's dead, like I always like hold the door open, whether it's a female or anybody, behind you or, acknowledge
Yeah.
somebody that lets you go first when you're driving, those sorts of things. And my girlfriend's always like, she's like, well, that's how they were raised. They weren't raised right like you. And I was like, well, those are just, basic manners. Like it's not that hard. So maybe it's a
Yeah.
generational thing too.
I think so, definitely. I do see that, yeah, like I mean my boyfriend's a few years only younger than me, but yeah, like he opens my doors and stuff like that and I was like, "Oh, this is so nice." Right? So no, chivalry is not dead and
Okay.
it actually feels really nice. Yeah. So keep doing what you're doing, Larry.
All right. I'll keep it up. And do you think your career, like, does it happen in a straight line or are there seasons and, turns in the road to get to ultimately where you were or where you are now?
God, well, I've had so many seasons, let's say, right? I had like say like let's say like, huge success for me in my 20s, right? Was like constantly working, lead roles, series after series. So I kind of at one point was not that I took it for granted, but I think that I was just like, cool, when's the next one? Right. And I remember there was one year kind of in between one of these shows that I did not work at all for a year. And I was like, and that was pretty scary. So I think that humbled me a little bit. And then, of course, leaving the business completely. I do a lot of voice work, so I was still doing like commercials with my voice. But when I was a mom, like I was doing some sales, I was doing any kind of thing that I could work from home while I had a baby. My husband at the time traveled a lot, so he was gone. So I was really raising her alone. But yeah, I think that it really, it's been like this even more because every actor's journey is like this. You're always unemployed. As soon as you finish a movie, no matter how big it is, you're back to the drawing board and you could not work for another 8 months, right? Like right now, I don't have anything coming up. And so you're just like, oh my God, I thought there was momentum a few months ago. I thought this is it. The train's off. But now it's like, so you're constantly, as an actor, constantly in those ebbs and flows, and you just have to find other stuff that you're passionate about, other ways to make money, and just kind of keep plowing through.
Yeah, so it's not always in a straight line up like most people probably assume. You know,
God, no. It's this.
And then when you have nothing going on, you just do podcasts like mine. You know, that's what happens. They all come back to my podcast during those down times.
When we're desperate and unemployed, we'll come to you, Larry.
That's why I'm here. You know, come. You got a shoulder to cry on. Last question: what advice would you give to, say, your younger self or somebody that would want to follow in your footsteps, knowing what you know now about the industry? I'm sure you get that question a lot, but I think, you know, for anybody that's listening to this, obviously they're interested in the industry, you know, like some sort of piece of advice you can give them.
Well, I definitely think that if you have a calling within you, of a passion, a creative part of you that is just constantly there, just knocking at the door, you have to pursue it. Doesn't mean you have to just throw the baby out with the bathwater. Do not ditch your job and go for this. I never, even to my clients that I coach, I'm like, look, I coach. That's my extra thing too. Like, it's not like I'm like, acting has to be 100% everything, because it's never going to be your everything. It's not going to be. So I think that you have to pursue it, because what I've learned, obviously we just talked about how old I am. I think that as you get older, especially in your 40s, I'm going to speak as a woman. I don't know what a man's journey is, but in our 40s, there starts to be like a rumbling that starts to happen within our soul that is like, okay, all that stuff that I was repressing is starting to come to the surface, and it's not letting me lie anymore. It's not letting me pretend that it's not there. It is just like, I'm here. So I think that pursue it earlier on, so that you're not 50 going, oh, I should have done this. Why didn't I pursue this? I think that do everything that your soul wants, but make money on the side and be responsible. But I definitely think that if you feel a calling of the arts or any kind of talent that you have, my God, we're here for this one big, beautiful life. Just do it. Just do it. We don't know how long we have.
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. And I would think that, you know, like we were talking earlier about social media, that I do feel like a younger generation, they think like success happens instantaneously, right? I'll post a few videos, I'll go viral, I'll make millions and be an influencer, and success will be done. You know, and they probably don't realize, you know, the amount of hard work over a couple decades that you had to do just to get, you know, where you are today. It's
so true. I mean, I don't blame them for thinking that, because look what they're seeing. They are seeing that happening. It is true. It can happen overnight. Not that those influencers and content creators don't work their asses off. I know they do. That takes a lot of time. But I think that the work ethic, let me just sound like an old granny here, the work ethic that our generation grew up with, like, again, I always say I worked at McDonald's for 6 years. I waitressed, I bartended, I did all that stuff while I was building my acting career. Is not there right now. I think that the laziness from like staying at home and posting and stuff, and the narcissism that can come from that, and the expectation is way different from when we grew up, of like literally it was boots to the ground. It was humiliation after humiliation and rejection after rejection. That builds character, man. That really, really does. So I'm always like, that this generation is not gonna have those skills, and that makes me sad. So yeah, I think that we might be the last little generation of, you know, God, I'm sounding old. I should just get on my rocking chair and like, kids these days, you know.
I understand the language you're speaking.
Right? You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Anyway,
maybe the younger listeners of this episode probably won't, but you know.
Exactly. Well, hopefully we'll inspire them. We're not like grumpy old people, so maybe we're still cool somewhat. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, Karen Cliche, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. And best of luck to you and the rest of your career. And I look forward to seeing Ice Cream Man August 7th.
Yay. Thank you so much. It was really fun. Thank you, Larry.